You can best fight any existing evil from the inside. Hattie McDaniel. Welcome to Casa de Confidence, a podcast for you. You'll hear some incredible women
and some awesome, cool dudes
going confidently in the direction of their dreams and living in the purpose of their heart.
You're our host,
Julie DeLucca-Collins, and you are our sidekick. # handsome hot husband.
That again.
And the producer of the show.
That I am.
I am an author, speaker, coach, dreamer, and most of all,
we help people go in the direction of their dreams
and support them on their purpose. So pull up a chair,
grab a drink,
and make yourself at home because our casa
is your casa. Welcome back to Casa de Confidence. This is Dan.
And this is Julie.
I got the first word in. Look at that.
I don't know how that happens. I guess you can edit yourself in if you need to.
Well, since you always get the last word in, I figure I'd get the first.
That's true. I need to always get the last word, mainly because my brain is still going and you're just kind of moved on from whatever conversation or heated discussion we've been having.
Yeah. You know what my theme song in my head is?
What is your theme song? Oh my gosh. Really? Oh my God. So much that I want to talk to you about.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, okay. I know that this is evergreen content, but you and I have not talked about this outside of this conversation.
Really?
And I want to know what your thoughts are.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on the CEO of Astronomer being caught in the Jumbotron with his lady friend, co-worker, at the Coldplay concert?
What do I think about it?
Yeah.
Well, I think you got caught doing something you ought not have been doing. The fact that he is adding on at the end that it shouldn't have been public. Well, you were in a public space doing private things with someone who was not your wife.
Well, I have to say,
so that's my opinion.
From a leadership perspective, Dan, here's the thing. We take ourselves wherever we go. And perhaps, and I haven't seen I think he released a statement, but I haven't read it.
He did. I read it.
Oh, you did? What did the statement say?
I just said what he said.
You did.
I did.
I guess I was listening to you.
He was contrite to his wife. He was contrite to his business. He said he was going to be stepping back and figuring out what his next steps were in his private life and in his life as the CEO in the business. So, and that he was upset at the public venue, putting this out there. The thing is, they didn't put it out there. Coldplay just said something. They were just, hey, he's either having an affair or he's shy. That's what he said. But then, the public, meaning everyone that was there, threw that on the social media. And
well,
you know what?
We live in a public world, no matter who we are.
Yep. And you know what? If you want to act properly publicly, you should carry yourself privately the way you want to be perceived in the public.
Yeah.
Which means
yes.
Stop messing around with your wife. Anyway, this has nothing to do with the episode, but this does bring up a good point.
What is the point?
We exist in different algorithms on social media.
You and I are in different algorithms.
This is something where, everyone's heard about this. But I've heard about it. You've heard about it. We've got cross-pollination between your world and my world on social media. But there's one thing that hasn't pollinated over to you.
What?
Chit.
Who?
Do it, lady.
I don't even know what you're
talking about. For the people
about.
who know, do it, lady. Leave a comment. Leave a comment somewhere about it.
On Dan's Instagram.
Post to Julie. No. Go on Julie's social media.
My God.
And send her a link to go see Chit. So in Julie.
Yes, Daniel.
Do it, lady. Anyway.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, I know, but you're going to once people send it to you.
Oh, my
Just
goodness.
just load her up with chit videos.
Out of all the kind of call to actions that we can have,
It's great. It's hilarious from the beginning.
okay. Well,
Enough
now
about
I mean,
social media and our algorithms.
this is going off the rails, and we just started.
Well, you know what? We haven't talked a little bit. We've been kind of busy working on things in our old little silos,
In
chucking
our own
things.
little silos.
Yeah, chucking things from the top of the silos over back and forth and interrupting each other in what we're working on. But you know what?
Mm-hmm.
We shouldn't be in silos.
No, we should not. Hey, by the way, someone sent me a journal. My friend Amy Capello, Pure Life Coaching. She sent me a journal that she created. It's called "Holy Shit, I Did That."
Oh, really?
It's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
And it's basically, you know how I talk about creating an evidence book or an evidence list so that when you're doing something, you can go back and give yourself credit and be like, oh my God, look at me. And because the more evidence that you have, the more competency you're showing yourself, and the more competency you have, the more confidence you have, right?
Cool.
All of that. But now here's a journal where you can say, holy shit, I did that. And I love it. So I'm going to share it in the show notes and go check it out. Amy Capello. It's on Amazon, but Pure Joy Life Coaching.
Cool.
Yeah. Anyhow, our neighbors are getting rid of their pool.
Really?
Yeah. I'm very upset because, you know.
You used to like that pool.
Well, I never swam in that pool.
You've been in the pool when our former neighbors.
No, they never invited us.
They did invite you. They said, come use it any time, and you never did.
I never did because I felt weird just walking in and taking advantage of that. But now I
thought you were over there in their pool all the time when I was at work.
Really? Wow.
So.
I think today.
You know, you wanted that pool so long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I saw.
It's on my vision board.
It was on the vision board.
What do you mean it was? It is.
I took it down.
Oh.
Well, you wrote it on the dry erase board, and I erased it.
Listen, that vision of my pool where I can float and have a frothy drink is still there.
So the vision, a pool for our yard was on your vision board. So what are you going to do about it?
Do about what?
Your vision board and the pool being on it and not being in the yard. I'm
going to keep manifesting it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. You go ahead and do that.
You don't believe in the manifestation here?
No. When's the last time you cleaned a pool?
You get a cleaning person for that. Listen, you know me. Do what you do best, delegate the rest. And I don't know how to clean a pool. Just like, I record and then I delegate the podcast.
So you put it on the vision board.
Yes. Okay. Now, I want to talk a little bit about our guest, though.
Okay. Does this have to do with your vision board and what you put on there?
Yeah, because I think that, sometimes I keep chasing things like a pool, but I really maybe should consider chasing my purpose.
Oh, now I'm on board. Forget about that pool.
Listen, I want to burn the damn labels.
Ooh, is that a quote from our guest or is that you?
That's a quote from our guest.
Oh.
Well, it's from the conversation. It's really what I gather from the conversation with Sharyll, our guest today. And she made me want to unlearn everything I thought I had to be and really reclaim who I am.
Yeah, I was listening a bit during the edit, and her take on creativity, on race, on identity is honestly eye-opening, and she gets right to it. She makes it human. It doesn't feel like you're listening to somebody rehearsing their TED Talk or having a TED Talk. She gets right in there into your heart.
Right? I mean, she's real. She's grounded and so thoughtful. We talk about how society kind of shoves people, especially women, especially Black and brown women, into these boxes and creativity can be the key to really breaking out of these boxes that we're shoved into.
And the other thing you talked about, and I heard that also, was about boundaries. And, it's good to set boundaries, but some boundaries can actually be fear in disguise. That got me.
Yeah. And this is similar. I think when Sharyll and I recorded, I also did a solo episode in which I talked about how our boundaries, sometimes we're saying our boundaries, but really we are just afraid of facing that thing, right? But again, it's all kind of things that we need to unpack, and it wakes us up. And if you're listening, my friend, if you're listening and thinking something about me wants to break out of boxes that I've been living, shed some of the labels, then I believe you're going to really love this episode.
There's the other thing too, and this really gets to the history buff in me. She talks about Hattie McDaniel, who, for those that don't know, was the first Black female actor to win the Academy Award. She won it for a supporting actor. And she has a four-part podcast called The Hattie Project that talks all about that. I love that kind of history in learning, educating yourself on the past so you don't repeat garbage in the future. So it's such a wonderful
if we don't know the past, we're going to repeat it. And the Hattie Project, which is that four-part podcast episodes that our guest Sharyll did.
Really, it'll be in the show notes.
It'll be in the show notes.
Find it easily.
But she wanted to really give individuals a glimpse into this iconic person that we have seen or heard about, and remind us that she's a person, not just a performer. Just like you and I are human, we're not just the podcasters, right? Mm-hmm. And all of us have a public persona. However, there is a private part of us. And at the end of the day, it's not about the roles that we step into, like podcaster, wife, sister, mother. It's about who we become despite these roles. And if you want to have help stepping into who you were meant to be or become, I definitely would love to talk and unpack this with more people, because this is something that it's not a once and done kind of conversation.
Go to the show notes right now. Copy the link for the Hattie Project. Have that copied. And as soon as you're done listening to this podcast, pop that baby in there and start listening to that, because I think it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's time.
Yes, my love.
So let's get into this conversation with the radiant, real, and revolutionary Sharyll Burroughs.
Welcome back to another episode of Casa de Confidence, my friends. I love it when I make friends because they are friends of friends. And what better way than to meet someone and really connect with them, but doing so in a way because you know that your friends love them. And today's our guest is Sharyll Burroughs, and she's an interdisciplinary artist, dialogue facilitator whose work explores the interplay between identity, history, culture, and one important question: what if we prioritize our humanity rather than categories of identity? She's an artist, my friends. I can't wait to explore so many different things with her. But again, I met her through, Nancy and Amy, the Passionistas, some of my favorite people in this world. And I have never been introduced to anyone who is not an incredible person when it comes from Amy and Nancy. Thank you for being here, Sharyll.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here with you.
Well, tell me, where in the world are you? Because I know that you just relocated. You're in a new place. And I love to have listeners get to know you and more about where you are in the world.
I am in the Pacific Northwest. I am in the fabulous Portland, Oregon, in a vibrant neighborhood. I just had a big life change and downsized, actually. I was living in a condominium and I downsized to a tiny studio apartment. So it has been quite the adjustment, but a wonderful adjustment nonetheless. And I am pleased to just begin my life all over again. It's not my first rodeo with starting my life all over again, but
as it is for most of us in midlife, right? We have to
that
kind of
is
do
true.
this reinvention and change and shift and new chapters, new beginnings. But it's always something that if we view it as an adventure, it could be a wonderful experience.
Yes.
So yeah, it's
Yes.
part of the human experience. And speaking of humanity and humans, tell me a little bit more about what does it mean to you to be human?
Well, it means to be, it means individuality,
Mhm.
autonomy, meaning that whomever you are is self-determined.
Mm.
We grow up with parents that decide that we should be blah, 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 but it's all based on their desires rather than what the child's desire is. Now, this is not a broad brushstroke. I know that there are parents that are very open to allowing their children to sort of dictate who and what they are. However, I think most parents, because they love their children and they want to keep their children safe, decide that their children should be certain things. So for me, autonomy means understanding that within us is information. Within our inner self is information. And it bubbles, it sort of percolates to the top, who and what we are. However, it contradicts with what society, our parents, teachers, friends are saying what we should be. So there are many conflicts, I think, that people have. And the freedom to trust that voice, to trust that information is scary because many times we end up being the odd person out side of the group. Everybody, well, I won't say everybody, but many of us want to belong. We want to be in friendship, companionship with other people, but many times that also involves being and doing what other people want. So the courage to stand in our own truth is very important. And sometimes it takes a long time to get there because you have to go through situations that don't feel quite right and then sort of do a self-reflection about, what's not working? Why am I not feeling comfortable in this moment? And if you listen to that little voice, you'll get the answer. So it's not easy. I'm not saying this is spirituality 101 or it's very, very hard work, but I think it's very, very worthy. And it's something all of us should strive for.
You know, I know that you and I've had a little bit of this discussion before, but certainly it's something worth revisiting during this conversation. And we live in a world that it's always looking to categorize us, and we then begin to live and identify ourselves by the categories that other people are putting on us. Do you feel that in your path, and again, you're an artist, you've done so many different things, you are a performer, but do you feel that you have broken away from the different categories that the world has put you in?
Yes, I have.
I love
It's been
that.
very difficult. Yes, it's. I think it's confusing to people because we are so conditioned to identify, first of all, by our ethnicity, our gender.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with any of that. However, I think what is missing within these conversations is that for me, being born into a brown body as a female, there is a prescription that was written within the context of white supremacy as regarding who and what I am supposed to be and represent.
Wow.
And all of those things, racism, marginalization, stigmatization, oppression, diminishment, that prescription is automatically applied and determined to be my life's path.
Wow.
So when you're taught this, you, I guess what happens is it becomes embedded within you as a belief system that when I walk out into the world, I'm automatically going to experience racism, or I'm automatically going to experience some unpleasant circumstance that's based on how I look. However, it doesn't mean that these circumstances don't happen. Obviously, right. I'm not saying that racism is something that should be overlooked. We should absolutely work very hard to get rid of it. But if you have a belief system that says, I am going to be subjugated, and this is what you are, this is your compass that is helping you navigate the world, then you can't welcome anything that's great and wonderful into your life, because then you're not representing your culture, or you're not representing your family, or you're not, so it's much more complex than this. I'm doing a sort of Cliff Notes version, but
this is a very in-depth conversation, certainly, and we're really simplifying the concepts, I believe, through because we can't cover it all in one sitting. This is something like maybe we should do a mini series on.
But all of that to say is, yes, I have worked very, very hard to detach from all of the definitions that were imposed onto me, and create my own definitions, create my own story, my own narrative of who I am. That changes from day to day, because obviously we are multidimensional human beings, and we are full of many, many, many different aspects that are often in sync and are often contradictory. So it doesn't mean that none of those things are true. They just change from day to day. So if you can allow yourself to step back and reflect perhaps on all the stories that have been imposed onto you, that's the first step, I think. Because people believe that, for instance, they were supposed to be a plumber. I'm being very, very, this is a very simplistic example, but the family historically is just full of plumbers. But this person wants to be a concert pianist. There's something that's saying, I need to play the piano, and I need to play with an orchestra, and all the voices around you are saying, don't get too big for your britches. Don't go out there and try. You'll get mowed down. It's going to be horrible. There are people that have overcome that and gone on to become exactly who they are. And there are people who have repressed themselves despite what they were actually feeling. So this is a lot of work, and often not very much fun. Not very much fun at all. But I think it's very, very important, at least to have the awareness that detaching from other people's versions and stories of who you are can take place. It is possible.
It is possible. I think that that's probably part of the journey that many of us have been on, because, no one ever tells you that you can kind of step out of the box that people put you in, and then we kind of stay trapped, but we know that we don't belong in these boxes. Was there a point where, you made the decision to kind of, move in this path to figure out how to define yourself without somebody else's influence without being in these silos that we tend to place ourselves in?
Well, that's a good question. I would say when I decided to become an artist, that was the first step.
Okay.
I always made art my entire life, but I didn't have the support. There weren't people around me who understood what art was.
Wow.
It's nobody's fault. It's just some people just don't know.
Yeah.
And I didn't really realize I was an artist until I was 36. And there was a sort of weird connection of opposite forces that came together where I had the opportunity to go to art school.
Okay.
I was a mom. I had 2 young children, and I didn't think it was possible, but this person really pushed me to apply, and I was accepted.
Okay.
So in art school, I met people who were very similar to me in that they had very weird ideas. And those ideas had to be manifested somehow, whether it was a painting or a sculpture or even writing, writing an essay or whatever all of that looked like. So I think my exploration of understanding that I was not what one would consider a conformist began in art school because I had permission to play and work with ideas that other people thought were really strange or impossible. There were people around me that were doing that. So that gave me permission to just, sort of relax and say, okay, it's fine to do this and I don't have to worry about what other people think. This whole sort of voice, oh, you might scare people or people might not like what you do or what you say. That is such a strong thing for many people because we just want to belong, right? We want to be a part of something, and we want not necessarily people's attention, but we want their approval.
Yeah, well, that's the desire that we have as humans to belong.
Yes. So once I started making art, it became easier to let go of all the things that I thought was important just in terms of how to please people, how to make people comfortable, and just dwell in my own universe, just dwell in my own galaxy.
I love that. I love that.
And
I wonder, Sharyll,
be who I am.
And I like this conversation because, I need to pick your brain on this because I think that there's multiple layers to an evolution of us evolving and making sure that we know who we are. And I think that for many women, that first step really starts in our 30s. I know that for me, that definitely started to kind of be an evolution. But for you, I see that you definitely have blossomed and now you carry this torch to really bring this conversation to others, right? The evolution of, not being, having our humanity define us, be our own people without having the labels. But I've seen people evolve and change and have realizations that are big because they have that artistic mind. They're open to change. They're always exploring. They're curious. Do you think that influenced you a lot, or was it age, like in my case?
Well, that's a great question. I'm glad you used the word curious because I do think that is a crucial aspect of embracing your humanity. I don't think that people are very curious about other people. I just think in general.
Yeah.
And I think it is a primary issue within the context of why the United States is so divisive right now.
Agreed.
People are not interested in anything outside their own bubble. And until we're willing to burst our bubbles and engage with people that we may not have engaged with before, or people that we're told are the wrong types of people, people who look like me.
Right.
It's going to be very difficult to connect with one another because everybody sort of has this version of, well, everything in my bubble is what is perfect. Everything in what is in, sorry, I can't talk. Everything that's in my bubble, everything that is in my bubble is the best, is the most important. And that way of thinking is where oppression begins, because it's not enough to be the best. You have to suppress other people if they don't think the way that you think.
Yeah. Yeah.
So unless curiosity is sort of, I came to the conclusion about this concept of prioritizing humanity kind of by accident. I just started to notice when there were, say, world conflicts, for instance, in Sudan, North Sudan and South Sudan, or Ukraine, when the Russians invaded Ukraine.
Right.
At the height of the conflict, whenever reporters would go in and speak to the townspeople or people who were in camps or so on and so forth, who were truly suffering because of what happened, they would say over and over, and I heard this in different versions with different ethnicities, we're human beings. Why are they doing this to us? All the nationalism fell away, the gender stuff, political stuff, all of that fell away.
Yeah.
Why are they hurting us? We are human beings.
Yeah.
So I wonder, why can't that be prioritized? Why shouldn't we work to connect with our humanity and not necessarily our common humanity? Because when we look at each other, we're not going to see the same thing.
No,
but
because we have experiences that inform us and in our own personal fears that maybe we carry with us.
Absolutely. That's absolutely true. And those experiences, those trials and tribulations, the wonder of life as well as the difficulties of life are where the conversations begin.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I know that there's a lot of work with DEI and connecting platforms and things like that use similarity as the connector. I think that's flawed because people are too invested in their who they are to get past their stuff in order to figure out what the similarities are. So I think we can also meet based on our differences, as long as we are in unity, that we will not oppress one another, that we will work very hard to connect through respect. I respect how you feel. I respect who you are.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as you're not hurting people, obviously.
Right.
Obviously. Again,
Yeah.
But as long as you are open to unity based on difference, we can come together that way. So this is where I'm working. This is what I'm working toward, helping people understand that it's totally okay to be who you are. But let's talk about the language of who you are. Where'd that language come from? Where'd that story come from? Is that okay with you? And if it's not, then what do you want to say? What do you want to share? And some people don't even know that it's possible. I've had people that have looked at me cross-eyed because they don't understand that they have a choice and what their story says. So again, it's very convoluted and it's very complex, but let's just jump in and see what happens.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people, when it comes to having these conversations that can be very intricate, and I've seen this a lot lately, and so much so that I wanted to devote a whole episode on this, and not so much to teach or to preach, but to really just kind of unpack this for myself. But I think that there's so many different times, especially now, that we are creating this us, them, others type of society. And a lot of times we avoid the dialogue and the curiosity because we feel that I don't know, that it's this us versus them, or they won't understand, or I won't belong because I'm stepping out in talking on things that maybe people are not ready or willing or able to talk about. And what ends up happening is I often hear this, Sharyll, and I'm curious to hear your opinion on this. I often hear, well, I need to create a boundary because people are talking this, saying that, or they believe this, right? And and although I'm a firm believer that we need to stand up for ourselves, create some space, protect our well-being, a lot of times the conversation of boundaries tends to be more of a separator than a protector for our communities.
I agree. The thing about boundaries is it's a double-edged sword. It's like a slippery slope. Of course, we should have boundaries, particularly with people who are purposely abusive, which is what we're experiencing right now in our culture. However, I think another way to describe boundaries is fear.
100%.
People put a boundary in place because they're afraid to allow themselves to speak perhaps a truth that they are terrified of.
Yeah.
Because I suppose, belief or the fear is that them saying whatever they're going to say out loud is going to blow up their world. It's going to blow up which is what you alluded to. So I'm very good at holding space for discomfort. And I think I have, let's just call it an energy or a presence that allows people to relax enough to take that risk in sharing what it is they would like to say. I do believe that it is a gift to be able to hold space in a way where there isn't any judgment. I try to be compassionate.
Right.
Sometimes it's not easy because sometimes people say things just because they think it'll get a rise out of me, for instance. But to not be in judgment of what people say is very important. But that's a difficult thing to navigate as well because we are a country of judgment. I mean, maybe we're not that different than other societies or other countries, but the United States was built on a template of guilt, sin, violence, puritanicalism, greed, blood. That's what the United States was built on. So all of this is trickled into all of our little corpuscles. And we have to work really hard to shed it. So boundaries, I think the question one person or a person would need to ask themselves is, am I drawing a boundary or am I just plain scared? To have enough reflection to sit with oneself and say, okay, I'm scared, but I'm going to do it anyway.
It takes a lot of self-awareness, I think, to be able to decide I'm going to, sit in the discomfort. And that self-awareness, sometimes, we're afraid to look in the mirror. because either we categorize ourselves as not being who enough or having enough. And I think that this is a very, very, so many different layers to it.
Well, I found that, like with anything,
Mm-hmm.
we desire something. We have desires, and we have things that we would like. We want our lives to be wonderful. We want our lives to be easy.
Mm-hmm.
We want everything at the snap of a finger.
Yeah.
And when that happens, it's uncomfortable. But then when we get what we want, we get what we desire, then we move on to something else.
Yeah.
So there's this perpetuation of it's never enough. No matter what we do, it's never enough. We're always chasing something.
Yeah.
I've got the big house now.
That's right.
Now I need the patio. Okay, I've got the patio.
Yeah.
I need the pool. Now I've got the pool.
Yeah.
You know,
that's how it rolls.
That's how it rolls.
Yeah.
That's how it rolls. So it's very hard to sit with oneself and look at that.
Yeah.
And ask oneself, well, what would happen if I stopped craving? What would happen if I stopped dreaming?
Yeah.
I'm not saying you shouldn't dream.
No, but I get it.
But is what you're dreaming for going to help you reach your highest potential as a human being?
Yeah, well, I think that
that's
that's the thing. I believe that there's dreams and then there's the desires, because we feel that the thing, the title, the money, the experience, the person in our life is going to make us whole. And, for me, that desire is different than the dream of, I want to, grow to be a better person, or I dream to make an impact or to have that fulfillment. And a lot of times when we're chasing things, as opposed to a deeper sense of who we are, I think that's a lot of times what kind of derails us too.
Yes, I agree. This is very hard work.
Yeah.
This isn't something that happens at the snap of a finger.
It should, right? We deserve it. It should, but it takes years. You're right.
Of course we deserve it. Of course, because we deserve everything we want. However, that's not necessarily how it goes. So until you're willing to stick your toe in the water and really take a look at yourself, as you said, look in the mirror and ask yourself, who am I? And what has been told to me that has become a belief system that is not true? And then move on to the next question and the next question and the next question. It's a process. But as you said, it's the ability to have self-reflection and actually give oneself permission to be self-reflective, because it's a dance where you're weaving in and out of information, trying to discern what fits you and what doesn't fit you. So if you're willing to go with that flow and willing to do that dance, I think it's extremely gratifying.
Yeah. Amazing. I would be remiss, Sharyll, if I didn't talk about our next little point, because this is something that I'm fascinated with, and definitely I want the listeners to learn a little bit more about something very special that you have worked on, and that is the Hattie Project. I want to, for the listeners who may not know who Hattie McDaniel is, tell us a little bit about who she was and what is the Hattie Project and What is the meaning of this work in this podcast, this episode 4-episode special podcast that you put together?
Hattie McDaniel was an African-American actress. I say artist because artist is in my mind. Hattie McDaniel was an African-American actress. She was the first African-American to receive an Academy Award for her portrayal of Mammy, the character named Mammy in Gone with the Wind. Mammy was an enslaved woman that is now perceived to be a racial stereotype. Not only a racial stereotype, but a negative racial stereotype. So the conundrum is this monumental achievement by Hattie McDaniel is somewhat tainted because of the role that she played, along with the other roles that she was able to attain. Maids, cooks, subservient women, let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
Which was the only thing that was available to her because the Hollywood system was racist. And it was also misogynistic.
Right.
But Hattie was an interesting woman because she had an innate gift for acting, particularly comedy, at a very, very young age, which was recognized by her parents, who were formerly enslaved people.
Wow.
But the miracle of her life was that her father, in my opinion, who, as I said, was a formerly enslaved person, but also served in the Civil War, was wounded very gravely, had many, many challenges, but wanted his 10 children to have a real chance in a racist world and encouraged them, all of them, to go into show business so that they wouldn't have to work in factories. They wouldn't have to work as field hands. They wouldn't have to be domestics in other white people's houses. This was astounding to me. And this is what drew me to Hattie's story, because she was encouraged from a very, very young age to be an actress. And she fulfilled that dream.
Wow.
Not only just in general, but a huge career in Hollywood. Her most famous quote is, "I would rather make $700 a week playing a maid than earn $7 a day being a maid."
A maid. Wow.
So she was brought to my attention by a friend who is actually building an archive on Hattie. And the friend had asked me to perhaps do some art to include in the archive. And as I was thinking about what type of art I could create, it occurred to me that Hattie needed to be in the world. She needed to be like in the world. So if I make a piece of art, it might get shown in a gallery or it might get shown in a museum. There's no guarantee that it would be seen.
Yeah.
But if I did a podcast, then I could tell a story that would not only highlight all of her achievements, but also prioritize her humanity, which would elevate her from this idea of being, the successful actress that got an Academy Award for playing a racist stereotype.
Yeah.
So that's how it began. And boy, howdy, was it a ride. It was. Wow.
Yeah.
It just turned into something I never thought. So the Hattie Project is a 4-episode podcast that, as I said, elevates Hattie's humanity, but also provides enough information to people to be curious about her, to want to know more about Hattie, and do their own version of discovery about what Hattie was and is, who she was. So I did my best to provide just enough information to more as a teaser than a full-blown biography, because there are biographies that have been written about her. I didn't want to repeat that.
Yeah, of course.
So as I said, my main goal was to elevate her and also to just manifest her humanity as best I could. And the feedback so far has been wonderful, and it's resonated with people, and I'm very happy.
Yeah, it's certainly such a fascinating story, as you mentioned. You know, she wanted to live a different life, and obviously her dad, who fought in the Civil War, wanted her to have that different life, and her mom as well gave her some of the talent that because her mom was a singer, from what I understood, but she not only forged a way for herself, but the one thing that we don't realize is that she was more than just the roles that she played. And
yes,
yeah,
she was a person in the world. Now, keep in mind, her career spanned the era of Jim Crow, which was the era of racial segregation in the United States. African Americans could not go into white restaurants.
right.
They lived in neighborhoods that were completely separate. They weren't paid in an equitable manner. It was a terrible time for African Americans. However, what's wonderful about Hattie is that she thrived in the, I would say, last worst period of the United States. This period that we're going through right now is probably going to be defined as one of the worst periods of the United States.
To say the least.
To say the least.
Yeah.
But Jim Crow was a terrible era, era where an African American in a Southern town crossing the road could be lynched for sneezing. So this was not easy. However, she and her siblings, she and her sister created, and I'm going to use a word that's going to be probably unknown to many people, minstrel show, which has a negative connotation. But there was a time when vaudeville is an old word as well, but people would create shows where they would sing and dance and do little skits, and it would travel from town to town, town to town. African Americans did this as well, and they would go to areas where Black people resided. Hattie and her sister formed their own minstrel show, the McDaniel sisters.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yes.
Very cool.
So not only were they independent as African Americans, they were independent women.
Wow.
Now, a lot of people would say something like, well, that's unfair that they couldn't go to white towns. They couldn't do this. They couldn't do that. You can't measure a person's humanity based on circumstances. Jim Crow, there was no way to control all the things that were in place to keep everybody divided. But within that system, they were able to succeed, which is what I think is most important. And Hattie and her sister ended up parting ways because her sister decided to get married. Hattie was very ambitious. She said, I'm not going to do that ball and chain at the moment. and managed to do different things, ended up in certain shows and so on and so forth, but decided in 1932 to get on a bus and go to Hollywood and try her luck.
Okay.
She was so talented, she couldn't be ignored, and became very successful. So I'll just give our listeners a context in terms of financial independence. $700 a week in 1939 is $16,000 a week, I believe, right now. When the dollar is, I mean, it's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's a lot of money, for sure.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah, so many different things to unpack, though. And you, how long did it take you to do some of this research for the shows?
Oh my God. I don't even know.
But it's a passion project, Sharyll.
Personally, I didn't do too much research because, as I said, it wasn't an A to Z biography.
Mm-hmm.
What I wanted was to provide examples of things that were unexpected in terms of how we think the African American experience was during Jim Crow.
Right.
So the presumption is that all African Americans were very poor and had no opportunity for advancement, when in fact, there were many African Americans who were doing quite well. So, in that respect, it was very important for me to get that message out there. And then also to give people permission to embrace Hattie, not within the context of these characterizations that she became known for. She was quite a sophisticated person. If you listen to Mammy in Gone with the Wind, the idiom, the way that she spoke, you'd be shocked to hear her actual speaking voice. They had to bring in a coach to help the African American actors who appeared in the movie speak that pidgin English, that incorrect English. Yes.
Interesting. Wow. Well,
so
that's so, it's so interesting. And it kind of brings us back to the original conversation. When we look at someone from the outside, it's very easy to think, well, this person fits into this box and this is who they think, or but it really is so much more than that. And if we are able to kind of shed some of these preconceived notions, right, or experiences that we come in with, and just allow ourselves to see the human behind there, we can be pleasantly surprised and delighted by what we find.
Yes, I would even say shocked. I think people are very surprised.
That too. Yeah.
To realize or to find out that African Americans did not all have the same experience of racism.
Yeah.
Yes, it's true. Hattie experienced racism. But what is also important to understand is that it did not define her. It did not define her perception of herself. She knew exactly who she was.
Yeah.
And she honored her gifts, and she used her gifts to help other people. She used her gifts to uplift other people within her culture and outside her culture sometimes. Yeah. So her privilege, which is a word that is bandied around as not applying necessarily to African American people, in some ways that's true. But in other ways, privilege looks like a lot of different things, right?
It sure does.
Looks like it has lots of different definitions.
Yeah.
But Hattie was privileged, and she knew it. And she used it to be of service to others, which for me was very important because in my work, this is what I'm, have to remind myself. It just ain't about you. It's about helping other people as best I can. So
and that's what I think all of us really need to. It's a great lesson to walk away with, right? I think that there is always a level of gifts that we have, but we need to be aware of who we are and where do we stand and how we can take what we have to create that ripple effect in this universe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
This conversation is so good, Sharyll.
Well, I love it. I'm enjoying every moment of it. And it's so wonderful to be able to share information and also exchange ideas, which is what everybody should be doing.
Yeah.
Everyone should be doing what you're doing.
I think if we had more of these tables where we can kind of gather and just sort of allow ourselves to leave our our preconceived notions, or these little things that we carry, and just say, let me come to the table as I am, and be willing to take away some of these false boundaries. There's so much more than we can actually gain from each other and learn and grow together.
Well, I think that what's helping me navigate these difficult times is reflecting on what Hattie did.
Mm-hmm.
Hattie would create little oases for people to come and, come together.
Mm-hmm.
And whether it was music, or whether it was a poetry reading, whether it was dinner, that's easy for all of us to do, right? This is something that's tenable. It's not about trying to create some big event, or it's just simply working within our own communities and finding a way to create an oasis where we can all gather and not only be true with each other, but be true to ourselves.
So good. So good. Now, we didn't unpack anything about you being an artist, what your art is like. And I have so much that I want to continue to ask you. Can you come back?
Of course I can come back. I would love to. That would be wonderful.
I would love to unpack more about your art and really have the listeners get to know some of your gifts. You are an incredibly talented artist that is making an incredible way for others as well, because you are gifted, and also you're sharing your gifts with others. And we like to pursue what we see is possible for others. And what an amazing gift. How do
Thank you so
people
much, Julie.
connect with you, Sharyll? Where can people find you and maybe have a virtual cup of coffee if they're not in Portland?
Well, I can be found at SharylLburroughs.com. However, my name is spelled very strangely.
Uniquely, not strangely.
No, strangely. But if you type in the Hattie Project, I'll come up, and you don't have to worry about spelling my name.
Well, there you go.
Just go online and type in the Hattie Project, and you'll find me. And please connect with me. I'd love to connect with anyone who is interested in having, I would say, unorthodox, but nurturing
such a
conversations. Yes.
Well, I love that. And we are going to have the information not only for your website, but the Hattie Project. We're going to link everything. People are not going to have to figure out how to spell your name. We'll have it for them. And of course, the other place that people may find you is hanging out with the Passionistas as well, I would imagine.
Yes, absolutely. I am a Passionista. So you can find me there as well.
Most of us here are. Oh, such a pleasure. Thank you for your wisdom, your time, and for the ability to just indulge me in some of my questions.
Oh, well, thank you so much for your time. And I really enjoyed this. I'd love to come back.
Absolutely. Let's make it happen. My friends, I want to encourage you to go and check out the Hattie Project. Go and look at Sharyll's stuff and her website, which is SharylLburroughs.com. I'm going to make sure that you have that here on the show notes. But importantly, I want you to share this episode. I think that this conversation is the type of conversation that can help us create dialogues and spaces where we can kind of learn from each other and explore some of these themes that we've talked about. Because, by the way, I do not know it all, and I believe that the more that we talk about this, we can learn from each other and really bring our curiosity to the table and see what we find. So, thank you so much, Sharyll. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Julie. I appreciate you as well.
All right, everybody, you know what to do. Go confidently in the direction of your dreams. Until next time.
Thanks for listening to Casa de Confidence. We thank you for listening, and if you want more, go to CasaDeConfidencePod.com. Check Julie out on her socials as Julie DeLucca-Collins. And you can also check out her website at GoConfidentlyCoaching.com. Have a great week, and don't forget, go confidently in the direction of your dreams.
Hi, everybody. I know that sometimes we get very lonely in this entrepreneur journey, and I want to invite you to join us into our limited time only Purposeful You Mastermind. For many of us entrepreneurs, we believe that we can do it all, but the reality is that doing it alone only creates a lot of overwhelm. So join us at the Purposeful You Mastermind. You can find out more information by going to bit.ly/Julie's Mastermind. This is going to be the place where you are able to then unlock your full potential and achieve long-term success for your business. Push you behind your current limits, expand your connections, discover new ideas, and implement them with confidence. You're going to get the support in all aspects and transforming you to the six-figure business you've been looking for. Pause and get off the hamster wheel if you've been spinning around. This is a time where you can get that support from like-minded entrepreneurs that are here to join you in your journey. Together, we can challenge the assumptions and land the speaking engagements and opportunities we want to grow our business and make an impact in the lives of people. See you then. Remember, you can find the mastermind at bit.ly, Julie's Mastermind.